Good evening and welcome. My name is Taylor Kingman. As president of the Board of Trustees of the San Angelo Independent School District, I would like to welcome all of you who are present at tonight's regular board meeting. I also welcome those of you who are watching the recording of this meeting online or on our public access channel. We appreciate your interest in the activities of our students and the business of SAISD. All items that will be discussed at our meeting this evening have been posted as required by state law. Also, as you may be aware, our board meets a minimum of 2 times per month, and most, if not all, items on our agenda this evening have been previously discussed at our earlier pre-agenda board workshop. As members of the SAISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from our superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district. Please keep in mind that our meeting is a meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public and not a meeting of the public. However, we have a public comment item on every one of our meeting agendas that allows anyone present who wishes to speak to our board team on an item not on our action agenda or an action item on the agenda an opportunity to do so. If you plan on doing that, you should have signed up at this form at the back of the room. Please listen and comply with the following rules so that we can move through this part of the meeting efficiently. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes. The district will provide an official timekeeper. Please respect the privacy of others and refrain from identifying students, employees, or other community members by name. Disruption of the meeting will not be tolerated at any time, and comments on any subject, whether positive or negative, must be courteous and respectful. Comments are limited to the specific topic you indicated, and any speaker with a specific complaint about a district employee, decision, or operational issue should present that complaint through the appropriate mechanism, which is the district's formal grievance process. Also, please understand if you speak to us on an item not on our action agenda, that the board cannot reply to you except to thank you for your comments, since the matter has not been posted for discussion. In compliance with state law, these proceedings are recorded and will become a part of SAISD's permanent legal record. In order that the recording will adequately reflect the proceedings, I ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. I also ask, as I remind my fellow board members, to please turn off or silence your cell phones. Again, thank you for being here and for your support of SAISD. Next, so we do have a quorum this evening. Ms. Duncan is unable to be here, but we have 6 of our board members. And next we have our invocation, and Sam Torres, pastor at San Angelo First, is going to help us with that tonight. Mr. Torres.
Good evening, all. I am delighted to be here with you all. You know, I've been in ministry over 40 years, and this is the first time that I've been asked to pray at a school board meeting. So I feel very honored, and I'm excited. You know, if you allow me to, I know you wanted me to pray, but there's a little story I want to share about school. Take 1 minute. If I take that minute, then my prayer will be shorter. Okay. It was about a little girl, a first grader, very bright. Her name was Susie. One Monday morning when she came in, she was smiling, just overwhelmed with a smile. Her teacher noticed that and said, "You seem very happy. What happened this weekend?" She said, "Well, they told me the story of Jonah. The story of Jonah is that he was eaten by a big fish and he lived." And the teacher said, "That's a very nice story, but it's not true. A man cannot live in the belly of a whale for 3 days." And she said, "Well, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask Jonah if he was eaten by the big fish." And she said, "Well, what if he didn't go to heaven? What if he went to hell?" And then Susie said, "Well, then you ask him when you get there." I don't know if I can pray after that, but I am honored. Shall we bow our heads as we pray? Heavenly Father, I thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day you've given us. I thank you for this privilege and opportunity to come before the panel, everyone that is visiting today. I pray your blessings upon each one of them, Lord. I pray that you direct us. As your word says in Proverbs 3:6, it says, "Delight your ways in the Lord. Lean not into your own understandings, but trust in the Lord, and he will direct our path." I pray that you would be present in this meeting, Lord, and whatever is said and done will be recorded in heaven. God, I thank you. Give us the strength, give us the boldness, Lord, to get things done for your glory, Lord, and for the children and for everyone, Lord, who's a part of the school district, Lord. And I thank you for each one. I pray you just bless every individual, every heart that is present, Lord, that they may sense a peace that only you can give. I thank you, Lord. Direct us and guide us, and we give you all praise. We give you all glory. In Jesus we ask. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have 3 fifth graders from Goliad. We have Jaslyn Obregon, Emma Martinez, and Abriel Ramirez, and they're going to help us with our pledges of allegiance to both the United States and Texas. If everyone would stand up with us, please. Y'all even remember to stay for pictures. That's good. All right, next we're going to move to our recognitions, and Soonchild's going to help us with that. And first on our recognitions list is for fire prevention poster contest winners.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, and members of the board. As you entered the administration building this evening, you may have noticed some beautiful artwork on display. Tonight, we're proud to recognize our SAISD Fire Prevention Poster Contest winners. This year's Fire Prevention Week theme was Charge into Fire Safety, Lithium-Ion Batteries in Your Home, which focused on educating everyone about how to use these batteries safely. Through their creativity, our students helped spread the important message of buying, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries safely, but bullying is bad. We would first like to recognize the dedicated individuals from the San Angelo Fire Marshal's Office who make this wonderful contest and safety campaign possible every year. When I call your name, if you would please join Dr. Moran here in the front. Fire Marshal Billy Clemens, Fire Investigator and Inspector Joseph Price, Administrative Assistant Kendra Owen, Fire Plans Examiner Brenna Matthews, and Fire Inspector Investigator Melissa Shizpinski, and Deputy Fire Marshal Eric Martinson, and Fire Investigator Lester Kent couldn't be here with us tonight. Okay, so now students, we will begin by recognizing our third grade winners, followed by our 4th and 5th grade. When your name is called, if you'll please come forward and remain at the front with your grade level facing the audience. And principals, we invite you to join your students for the photo as they are recognized. And we kindly ask the audience to hold your applause until all the students are here in the front. From 3rd grade, our poster winners are 4th place, Eric Prestopine from Holloman Elementary. 3rd place, Yagvi Ojesvi from Santa Rita Elementary. 2nd place, Cameron Roy from Bonham Elementary. And 1st place, Amaris Munoz from Glenmore Elementary. And that's our 3rd grade. From 4th grade, all of our poster winners from 4th grade are all from Bonham Elementary. 4th place, we have Jovi Morrison. 3rd place, Cambry Johnson. 2nd place, Isabella Hernandez. And 1st place, Sofia De Siga. From 5th grade, all of our poster winners are from Santa Rita Elementary. 4th place, we have Harvey Skinner. 3rd place, Noah Raymond. 2nd place, Juliana Pfluger. And 1st place, Caitlin Gonzalez. Congratulations, students. If you'll just stay right there, just for a picture real quick.
And I think it's worth mentioning, I think we have a dad in the audience who won this like 30 years ago.
Wow.
And his daughter is now the winner. I think that's pretty cool. Is that right?
All of y'all look at me. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. And y'all stay there. I think there's some more parent pictures.
Come on, Mom. All right, congratulations, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to continue with our recognitions. And next, we're going to recognize SSD principals for National Principals Month.
Yes, sir. Now, if you're one of our principals, can you just come this way to the front and line up on the side of the room in campus order from elementary through high school, and then DAEP and PACE? In alphabetical order by campus, please. Our next recognition is in honor of National Principals Month, a time to celebrate and recognize the incredible leadership, dedication, and impact of our San Angelo ISD principals. Our principals serve as the heartbeat of each campus. They are instructional leaders, problem solvers, mentors, and champions for both students and staff. Every day, all day, they balance the needs of their campuses with grace, compassion, and determination, ensuring that every student has access to the opportunities to learn, grow, and thrive. This month, and truly every month, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to our principals for their steadfast leadership and commitment to student success. Their work sets the tone for positive school culture, academic excellence, and supportive environment where both students and teachers can shine. Thank you, principals, for all you do, the long hours, the countless decisions, and the unwavering belief in the potential of every child. When I call your name, if you'll just please join Dr. Moran here in the front. Bel Air Elementary School, Michelle Beers. Bonham Elementary School, Ginger Luther. Bowie Elementary School, Ashley Gould. Bradford Elementary School, Dr. Marissa Guerrero. Crockett Elementary School, Mindy Goodnight. Bannon Elementary School, Berta Sepulveda. Fort Concho Elementary School, Lori Barton. Glenmore Elementary School, Terry Gould. Goliad Elementary School, Dana Feltz. Holloman Elementary School, Stacy Fisher. Lamar Elementary School, Ashley Bishop. McGill Elementary School, Colton Curtis. Reagan Elementary School, Katie Rudolph. Santa Rita Elementary School, Kay Scott. Glen Middle School, Clayton Hubbard, who was also named the Chamber of Commerce's 20 under 40 this year. Lincoln Middle School, Joe Gandar. Lone Star Middle School, Latanya Sutton. Central High School, Jill Ross. Lakeview High School, Zachary Ramirez. And DAEP pays Becca Flores. Thank you so much, principals.
Tall people in the back, let's get your hand. And
lost last night. First loss of the season. Abilene, man.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three.
They scored like 3 touchdowns in the
Thank
third,
you
fourth
all.
quarter.
Congratulations.
Gave them a big lead. Hey, it's middle school football. Yeah. Principals, we're going to make y'all shake hands. We won't make y'all talk, but you have to shake hands.
Go the Lord. Good job, all. You're up.
Man, I can't see it anymore without my glasses.
Uh-oh.
All right, we are going to move to our next recognition, and Dr. Brandon is going to help with us with that, and that's from the Association of School Business Officials Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting.
Dr. Keeman, Dr. Moran, Board of Trustees, the Association of School Business Officials International is thrilled to announce that San Angelo ISD has been awarded the prestigious Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. This honor recognizes school districts that uphold the highest standards of financial reporting and transparency. The school district earned the Certificate of Excellence for its exemplary annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending August 31, 2024. Participation in this program highlights the school district's dedication to financial accountability. Submitted financials are rigorously reviewed by a panel of experienced financial professionals who provide constructive feedback to further enhance the quality of future reports. Districts that meet the program's stringent requirements are awarded the Certificate of Excellence. This evening, we have with us to accept the reward, Hope Flores, Director of Accounting, and Christina Chavez, Cash Manager and Investments Officer. Also, a big part of our team, Jaime Guerrero is our comptroller, and Briley Nehus, accountant, that could not be here this evening, but we're very proud of the team and everything that they achieve.
One, two, three. Congratulations.
All right. We have no public comment this evening, so we're going to move forward with conducting our Finance and Audit Committee workshop. Just as a reminder, due to the new state postings, this has been moved to our regular agenda from our pre-agenda workshop. So I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Dindal.
Thank you, Dr. Keeman. We appreciate that. Our October finance reports begin on page 8, and then our bills and accounts begin on page 9. Page 12 is our combined statement of revenues and expenditures. Right now, that shows a restricted fund balance of approximately $4.892 million, which capital projects in that are $4.080 million of that restricted fund. So we got some projects out there coming out of our fund balance that are restricted because we've got some projects earmarked for that. Also on that same statement, it shows an unrestricted fund balance of $52.247 million moving forward. Any questions about that restricted and unrestricted fund balance? If not, we can move to page 15. Page 15 shows our general fund revenues and expenses for September. As you know, September is the first month of our fiscal year, and so technically we should be about at 8% a month as far as revenues and expenditures. Revenues are running slightly ahead at 12.3%, and the expenses are slightly ahead at 9.0%. We had some contracts and stuff that we pay yearly, and so that's why it's slightly skewed, but it's only 1%, so it's still right in line from where we should be. If there are no questions about that revenues and expenses for September, we can move to pages 16 through 26, which is our September check register. That's all of the checks that the district has written in the month. I know we've had it for a day or two. Hopefully you've all reviewed it. If you've got any questions, make sure about any of those checks, you can refer those to Dr. Brandon. He can run those down for you if you've got any questions. I reviewed them and I didn't see anything that was significant that we needed to, that I had a question about, but I'm only one set of eyes and I know everybody else looks at that. So if not, we can move to pages 27 through 31, which is our monthly investment reports. The first report on page 27, I believe, is the investment report comparing August 25 and the September 25. August 25 interest earnings showed to be 1.397 million prox, and our September earnings are 1.669 million prox. The reason those are so high is because we were carrying a balance in our, we sold our bonds in order to actually save 80 million. We financed 397 and we only have to pay back 320 million because the state's going to hold us harmless. So that's a big win for the taxpayers and for the district as we move forward. And so at that point, since we've sold those bonds, we're earning some significant earnings in our interest account as we move forward. There's another monthly report on page 28, which is a comparison between September 24 and September 25. September 24 earnings were $281,159,000, whereas again September 25 is 1.669 million. Pages 32 through 35 are our quarterly investment report. The district's total investments as of August 31st, 2025, the end of the fourth quarter for the fiscal year, were 466.611 million prox. Total interest earned for the fourth quarter was 1.905 million prox, and that report includes the comparison for May 31, 2020, excuse me, the August 31st, 24, the quarter May 31, 2025, and the prior year, August 31, 2024. That's the quarterly investment report. Page 36 through 39 are the yearly investment reports. Again, the district's total investments as of August 31st, 2025 at the end of the year were $466.610 million prox, and the total interest earned for the fiscal year was 4.551 million prox. And that report includes a comparison to the prior fiscal year of 2023-2024. Those are all of it, our investment reports. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about that. If not, we can move forward to the tax collection report, which are on pages 40 and 41. Our 2023 collection rate right now stands at 100.22%, and our 2024 collection rate is at 99.34%. About to get all those taxes in for those 2 years. Again, page 42 through 48 are POs over $20,000 for the month. There are a bunch of numerous POs there. Some are yearly contract renewals. Others are for some POs that we have allocated for some capital projects that we've recently approved also, in addition to fuel and other things. Lots of POs there, over $20,000. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about any of those POs. If not, that would conclude my report as far as the finance reports for September. And these reports, all these reports can be found online, SAISD, the district tab, where there's a specific tab that says financial transparency. So if any of those in the audience, and that's in an effort at our transparency, it also helps us with our first grade, our first financial grade that we're going to talk about here later in the report too. So kudos to our finance and our department for doing a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Dindal. Next is information items, and we're actually going to go to item B first. We're going to give a little time for folks for A to get here. And we're going to use update on student demographics, and Dr. Brandon's going to help us with that.
Good evening again, Board. The San Angelo ISD has partnered with qualified firms for demographic analysis, forecasting, and planning support services. What we bring you this evening is pieces of those information as far as demographic data and transfers. The primary objective is to develop reliable data to support long-range facility planning, potential attendance boundary modifications, and strategic decision-making. The first chart shows what we have seen from our original original demography report showing the declining enrollment trend over 10 years, and right now at 12,576, where you see the blue line is where we've been tracking and where you would find the district already as we end 2025. So we're slightly ahead in declining enrollment, which is not a good thing. You see that number should lie somewhere between the 12,790 and the 12,576 for that line at the end of the year 25. So slightly below where we would project to be in the moderate line. We've talked about declining birth rate being a big part of that across not only the state of Texas, but across the nation. That's evidenced in the elementary, the pre-K numbers, as you see the fall from 800 to 365, and then in elementary, 7,000 students to 5,700. Middle school and high school are tracking about the same, but what we'll see now is once the declining birth rate kicked in, that same chart in elementary will begin to resemble that in middle school and high school, and those numbers will continue to fall. Where is it falling? This chart gives an idea of, in the dark blue, attendance zones. You see over like McGill, Austin, the loss of over 400 students in that time period. And then in the larger regions, 177, 113 over in the, I guess you'd call that the southwest corner. And then we have a couple that actually have increased enrollment. Lamar, and I guess that would be Fort Concho. So across the district, we've seen the declining enrollment, but then you see pockets of very high declining enrollment. So we wanted to take that back to capacity, right? If we're beginning to see declining enrollment across the district, where are we hardest hit, and how does that affect the campuses where those children attend school? You'll be able to take this and certainly review it, but I want to bring our attention to, for example, Crockett Elementary. And this is before the construction. So you see by 2034, if we had not put construction in place for Crockett, it would be at 68% capacity. So what we do there with the 8 new classrooms will increase even greater capacity at that campus compared to like Bonham, who's 102%. So as that campus continues to receive students, their capacity stays right at 100%. A couple other highlights, Goliad could fall to 67%, Holloman 56%. And you'll see as we go through the charts, the our north schools are certainly more impacted by the declining enrollment. Here at Reagan would be at 31% capacity, meaning that 391 open seats would be at Reagan in that same time period. 56% was what the capacity was projected to be at San Jacinto. If we look at middle school, we see Glenn at 86% capacity, and then over the time frame, built out by the demography report. Lone Star would be 54% with over 600 open seats on the campus, and Lincoln Middle School, 51% with 680 open seats. So we know that's certainly not efficient. So the conversations being, how do we make the change there? Lincoln being one of our newest campuses in the district at 51% capacity. And then when we look at high school, Central, now at 94% capacity, stays in the low 80%. Lakeview drops to 55% capacity with almost 800 open seats for the campus. Any questions about the declining enrollment part and capacity?
I think it's important for the board to remember that there's a difference between operational capacity and functional capacity. And, when you talk about operational capacity, you're talking about how many kids can fit in a building, or functional, when you talk about functional capacity. So practically speaking, you have X number of rooms, it should hold X number of kids. And operationally, there's a little more play in there. It's subjective depending on the programs you have in the building, the needs of the students, and the spaces that you need for certain programs. So functional is how many kids you could put in a building. Operational is what's the practical use on a daily basis. And then the other part of that is the percentage of the building that is, you saw some that were like Bonham, we saw is 100%. Typically, when you're planning for facilities at 85%, if you're growing at 85%, you need to be planning for expansion. 90%, really you're full operationally. You don't really want to be 100% full because that doesn't leave any elbow room for any special needs or special uses of the building that you would need on a daily basis. So if you see a building that's 100%, you're over. You need to be about 90. So just something to keep in mind as we talk about this.
Okay. If there's not any other questions, Mr. Kallenbach is going to talk about transfers.
Thank you, Dr. Brandon. So the other variable in the whole thing with schools and how many students go there is the transfers, in-district and out-of-district transfers. So you have, I'm going to just show a couple of slides, but you have a hard copy packet that has every school in it. But we'll take a look at a couple of the pages so that everybody knows what we're looking at. This is the main report that shows the historical transfer data over the last 3 years. And the blue column indicates the San Angelo ISD students that are enrolled to us that actually live in that zone. So we're basically taking all transfers out of the equation, and that's what that blue column each year is. So what you can tell from that, if you look at the trends, is the students that actually live in those zones over those years. That does not mean that's where the students go to school. That's in the, I believe that's the first column. I can't see that very well, but here we go. So the first column indicates on snapshot day, that's how many students were actually enrolled at that school. And so then you would take how many transfer in by the number that transfer out, and then that's what gives you the number that actually live in that zone. So at the bottom of that page is the out-of-district transfers. So it shows from all of our surrounding areas where we have students coming in from really smaller schools that are choosing San Angelo. And that number has gradually increased over the last few years. A big chunk of that
Those
number,
are transfers in from those areas?
correct. Yeah. And there's an official report that goes out from the state that shows the ones that transfer out, but it has some interesting things on it because official addresses are maybe in San Angelo, but this tells us who's coming in from these other places. A big number of those are from the Buffalo Heights area that is not SAISD. And those are a big number of the ones that are in that Grape Creek, that come in from Grape Creek ISD. So what we did was we put the physical capacity of the schools in those last columns so that you can make a comparison of, and that's really what Dr. Brandon's report showed a little bit better that way, but it does show the physical capacity. So when we talk about this year, we're not to snapshot yet, but what we do have is we do have everyone's address. And so the rest of the pages in the packet are a visual representation of each school, and that is as of right now. So each one of the blue dots on those maps indicate a student that goes to that school. So when you're looking at these, it's important to note that these are all the students that go to that school. And then you can tell where they live on this map. So it's not showing you which students are in which, multiple areas. That one page for the two examples that I gave are more sort of average for us in terms of the number of students that transfer over to that zone. So that first example, Goliad, it's colored in red. The zone itself is. So you can see that the majority of the students that go to Goliad live in the Goliad zone, but there are quite a few others that go to Goliad from all over town. And then Glenmore is the same way. So the vast majority of the students that go there live in Glenmore, but there are a lot of students that live in other zones. And it's just, we know we've had an open transfer policy for quite a few years where families have the opportunity to apply for a transfer. Basically, if we have space, then we go ahead and approve them. The thing with that is it's really unpredictable on how many will apply for transfers to certain schools, how much space we'll have. And I do want to be very clear about this one point about that is when we talk space and capacity for students with transfers, we're not talking at all about the building's capacity, because we're in elementary in particular, what we're talking about is staff, the ratio of staff. You have to you can't go more than a 22-to-1 ratio. So a lot, you'll see those numbers where we have space at schools, but we're staffed at a certain rate at that school, and we can't go over the 22-to-1. So I get a lot of calls of families that are wanting a transfer, and I have to tell them, well, we don't have space. That doesn't mean that there's no physical space for more kids in that building, but it does mean we're at 22-to-1 in that grade level. And so there are times when we are able to approve a transfer for one student because there's space in that grade level, where we're not able to for another student because it's a different grade level and we're full. So, and that can be within the same family. And that happens sometimes. That's under the current policy. Over the years, kids come from a lot of different places. So I just wanted to give you a couple of examples so that you can see, as you look through the packet of all the other schools, it's a visual of where our kids are actually going to school, because that really, it's a lot of information to take in when you all are considering what we're going to do with schools, as we all are kind of working through this. So that's important information. After snapshot, we'll be able to capture that in numbers, like we have for that other document. A couple of other examples are I just put two of the middle schools in there. The middle schools really look a lot alike in terms of the number of kids that transfer into the other areas. The numbers are similar. One thing that's a little bit different about middle school is the number of transfers really rely on where the students went to elementary school. So for the last 3 years, we really don't accept a whole lot of new transfer applications in middle school. But what we do is we accept anyone who is on a transfer to their elementary school. So that's a matter of our procedure. If you've been going to Lamar, for example, since you were in kindergarten, but you don't live in Lamar's zone, maybe you live in Lone Star's zone when it comes time for middle school, we still let you go to Glenn under the current policy because Lamar is a Glenn feeder. So our students, they get to go under the current policy, they get to go to the feeder that they're elementary, no matter what zone they live in. We automatically give them the transfer. Now, we don't take a lot of new ones in middle school. So what you're seeing is a product really of the elementary transfers. That's what you're seeing when you see the middle school maps. Those students that are living in those other zones, they went to elementary schools on a transfer for the most part. So just wanted to be kind of clear on that. The middle schools, you know, when you saw the numbers of the 3 middle schools, this is going to be a huge part of the conversation moving forward because we're sitting with a lot of physical capacity open at Lone Star and Lincoln, and that's empty spaces that are still, you know, air conditioned, lights on, and all of that. But the way that you get the numbers in middle school is by who's coming from elementary. So just in terms of, you know, you can redraw middle school lines, but it's about the feeder patterns themselves. So one thing to always think about as we're talking about the elementary schools, going back to these, is that will affect the middle schools down the road. So the way to impact the middle school numbers are not to go in necessarily and just change the middle school lines, because then they won't match the feeder patterns. What you have to do is decide which schools are in the feeder patterns. So I know that's a lot, but it's really important because where we decide that elementary zone feeds to is going to affect every year for the next 3 years the size of the middle school that's in that feeder. So if we want to, for example, if we want to increase the numbers at Lone Star Middle School, then there has to be a feeder pattern conversation. And then in the next 3 years, as students come out of 5th grade and go into 6th grade, then in 3 years, the effect of that will go into place. And you'll see the numbers change over that 3 years.
Any questions for Mr. Kalmbach? Obviously, as we're looking at the fact that we passed a bond on right-sizing elementary schools and we are looking at a declining enrollment, there are going to be some real decisions that have to be made over the next several months and years to figure out how we can best put teachers, certified teachers in front of students, as many students as possible, and how we can best be stewards for both our students and our taxpayers, and how to make this work best for our students and give them as many opportunities as possible at each of our campuses. So,
may I make a comment?
Yeah.
We're planning to approach the whole elementary zoning just like we did the facility advisory committee, with a number of citizens, a facilitator, really working through the process to provide the board options so that you all feel good about it being thoroughly vetted, because we all recognize, having been through this process before, this is real. This is going to impact families, and you know, some families have been in a certain elementary zone for years and years, and that's going to change. That's a hard thing, and but as a community, we can get it right if we work together and we give input and we listen. Then we can get this right. Not everybody will be happy, because it's not going to be a unanimous decision, I'm sure. But consensus is important, and getting to the point where we can do the most good for the most people will be the goal. And so just expect that this will come your way in the next 9 months or so to really start working through that process and providing you as a board the options for you to consider. And to get this right for our community. But to Mr. Kalmbach's point, when you think about redrawing attendance boundaries, you have to think about trying to fill up the elementary school with kids that live in that zone. And if you do that, then you're populating your elementary schools with those resident kids, and that will definitely impact the discussion about the number of transfers an elementary can take on. So this is going to be a real conversation. We want to make sure that we give the board plenty of runway to think this through and discuss it and vet it. We also want to lay the groundwork, which we're trying to do the last few months and this month and the coming months, to be sure that you as a board are placed in a good position to make the best decision for the district.
I was going to, Michael, I can't remember. I always call you your brother's name.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm
That's
sorry.
all right.
I get the same thing all the time. So when a parent calls you and y'all tell them capacity, or meaning, say like, for example, Glenmore, if you want to transfer into Glenmore, my student, my son or my daughter, whatever, is a fifth grade student, and we have enough capacity, that means we have enough teachers to take care of my daughter, but then if I have a third grade son that wants to go there and we're not at capacity, that means we don't have enough teachers to get them in there.
The teachers that are at the school are at the number.
Yeah.
And if we were to let them come, it would put them over the number.
Put them over the number.
But then that happens sometimes. And then usually families decide to send both of them to their home campus. Sometimes they do decide to let one go on a transfer and then the other, stays at the home campus. But
Yeah, and from the looks of this map, we got like Lincoln and Glenn, the picture you have up there, they come from everywhere. And it's like on every one of them, every school, you sit there and look and, you'll have 381, like 100 something are transfers. Now, like Dr. Moran was just saying, later on in time, making decisions like this, but if we keep the transfer policy the same, wouldn't we be going back to the same thing? I mean, you'd have to change the word, because, you're gonna have all the kids from this one neighborhood go to their neighborhood school, but if we keep the same transfer policy, they'll all keep coming back in.
Well, we've run into a little bit of that. At Lamar's a good example. There's rooftops going up there and families moving into that zone. So it is becoming fuller and fuller of people who live there. But we still have families who have been on transfers. And I think we had this scenario this year where we were actually hitting the ceiling in some grade levels. And the fly in the ointment was we had families that had multiple siblings on transfer to Lamar, and we just didn't feel good about ripping those kids out. They'd been there 3 years and sending them back to their home campus, but yet we're getting full with kids that actually live in that zone. And that's, it becomes a staffing challenge when you don't populate your kids or your schools with the kids that live in the zone, because you really can't predict accurately who all will be and won't be at that campus. So, and I will say, without getting too deep in the weeds at this point, because this is really another presentation academically, when you have kids moving around the district, it becomes a little more challenging. If you had one student, I've said this before, if you had one group of students, kindergarten through 12th, and you really just worked with them, it's a little easier. But when you have kids coming and going, it becomes more difficult to serve the families and the kids because they may be at a different campus from one year to the next.
The other thing I'll just add to that is over the last 3-4 years, how we've had to tighten because of our staffing. So maybe 3, 4, or 5 years ago, we had a buffer. In other words, we had more staff at our campuses so that there was more room in each class. Over the last several years, we've had to pare it down to where we just really have enough staff to do 22 to 1. So what happens is, and this has happened each of the last 2 years, we will have transfers and it'll be 22-1. I think this is to what Dr. Moran was just saying is if we have an influx of people that move in, we have to do something. Those people have the right to go to that school. And then we have to go to transfers that have been there and say, we're over the number now. So that's where it gets really tricky. If you have extra staff, you have plenty of room to move transfers and around. But we don't. We're very tight with our staffing numbers, and increasingly over the last several years, there's just enough teachers for the kids. And so where those teachers are, that matters. And so there's not a lot of extra room in places for transfers to go either.
And that's common across the state. I mean, you have a lot of schools that don't have enough teachers, districts that don't have teachers. We're losing them left and right.
So
Okay, thank you.
this is part of a plan to make sure that over the next, like Dr. Moran said, over the next 9 months, we get information so we can make decisions long term. So thank you all for the start of this. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move back to a bond construction update, and Mr. Danheim is going to help us, or Mr. Lopez, one of the, or both.
All right. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. Good to see y'all all again, Dr. Moran and Board of Trustees. We've been very busy on your projects, and so it's an exciting time. The Crockett is under construction. You can go by there and see construction fence and dirt, and they're working their way through it. Sorry, let me. With your presentation. Yeah. We were working through an easement, and we have everybody agrees on the easement. There was some discussions about the land, and it was actually already there. It's just getting an easement certified officially, and it's complete, thankfully. So Crockett is free to build, and we've got Michael here actually with Lee Lewis that's been working hard to get that done. So we really appreciate them. Yes, sorry. For the other bond projects, sorry, we're trying to get the PowerPoint presentation up. We've been working with the teachers, students, some of the principals and administration on the actual designs of the projects. So we've had a lot of fun sessions, a lot of engaging sessions where we talked about the future potential for your facilities. I won't spend too much time on the overall timeline because these are all still the same. We just want to make sure that we're keeping the end in mind every presentation. Same thing with the project's timeline. There's going to be some conversations with the CMAR. The whole point of bringing them on is to discuss the projects and the timelines. And so once the CMAR is selected, then this is something we'll be studying with them to make sure that the timeline allows for the best possible field results. And so this hasn't changed now, but it's potentially going to change a little once we bring on the CMAR. We've already kind of talked about Crockett. You see some pictures of the dirt being moved around there if you haven't been by to see it. The building pad is pretty well established, just showing that we brought the dirt up to the same finished floor of the existing building, and they're ready to start getting going on some foundation and underground utilities. For McGill, we're about 75% complete on the construction documents. We're moving a little ahead of schedule, actually, on that one. Should complete construction documents in November and be putting it out to bid towards the end of December or towards the end of the year. Glenn Middle School, we're actively working through designs, and so you can see there was a large group of people that got together and kind of played with literal pieces of parking lots and gymnasiums and each piece of that school, and came up with various options of what that could look like and how it could function. And we try to make sure we have quite a few people in the room and moving the blocks to where everybody kind of talks about, what works best for the athletics and what works best for academics and administration, and kind of every voice is heard and everybody's able to discuss, what makes sense for the future of Glenn Middle School here. So obviously we'll be looking at bringing on a contractor tonight, hopefully, and then they'll be able to start talking about construction phasing and kind of what makes sense for that phase of the project. And so we'll be able to start getting some of their input on some of the options as well. Lakeview, we've been doing the same thing. So we actually have 4 different teams for each one of these projects. So we're able to have these same type of meetings back to back and work through quite a few options in a short amount of time. And this is Glenn, just showing additional pictures there. And then Central High School, same thing. Some of the big things talked about, location of the auditorium, location of the gymnasium, how parents access the building, how students access the building, what makes sense now, and then also what makes sense in 20 years if Central High School does become a single campus all under one roof. So we're having those conversations about what's planned now, but also making sure that we're thinking long term in phase 3 or 4 of Central High School. So it's kind of fun and exciting to be able to have those conversations too, to make sure that we're not preventing or making it harder for the future phases. You can see this is some of the kind of second steps. We started playing with some of the blocks, and then we had some of the staff leave for a little bit, and we sketched some of those blocks with hallways and connectors and comments about what works and what doesn't work, and kind of came back and had discussions about the flow of the campus and what really is a potential option and what might not be a potential option because of the realities of when you start really laying it out in a floor plan. And so we've actually got to a point on multiple projects where we think we have some pretty good options to be able to discuss. And even on Glenn, we were able to talk to some of the students and teachers about some of the floor plan options and kind of get some of their thoughts on it as well, which was really fun to hear. Another thing that we did, and maybe I'll skip ahead to this and then come back to that, was present to the Bond Oversight Committee. I can't believe it's already been long enough time since the bond was passed to have kind of the first update to the Bond Oversight Committee, but we got to introduce Mr. Dayenheim and his position of watching over the bond construction and the status of the projects and how that aligns with what the committee had recommended, and be able to show that we're currently on schedule and on budget and within the scope we previously discussed. So that was exciting to be able to do that. One thing we also talked about was a potential for a forward-facing dashboard that just kind of outlines all of the bond projects. And this is actually an example from Midland ISD, but it shows a visual representation and a line item representation of every bond project. And they actually have this on their website so that the committee or the community members can come review that and see where all of those bond dollars are going and which projects. And They also kind of have a tracking mechanism that shows what's been spent to date and what the budget was. So you have those kind of checks and balances that would be a potential on the website as well. Just another piece of that oversight from the committee. And then lastly, tonight we will have the action item for the CMARS. I believe y'all have heard some conversations about the ranking and the recommendation, and I would just say that there was a lot of interest in this project. You know, this is a pretty specialized thing that to be able to do, to work on a $100 million project for a school district on existing campuses, and to have a large portfolio of being able to do that. Not everybody can. Not all contractors are set up for this. So what we're used to seeing, 2, 3, 4, really max a lot of times, construction managers, and y'all actually had 7 that submitted proposals. And out of that 7, Lakeview had 7 proposals, and the other 2 projects had 4. So 4 of the contractors went after those 2 larger projects, but quite a few more went after Lakeview. So it was quite competitive, and y'all had contractors all the way from Ontario, Canada. So there was actually Ellis, Don, and Lott Brothers teamed up together. So it was an Austin firm that teamed up with a Ontario contractor so that they could have the right portfolio and experience to work on the project. So that just shows you how people were trying to be creative to be able to try to get these projects.
Which one of the 2 had the most experience, the Ellis Don or the Lott Brothers?
The Ellis Don had the
Ellis Don,
biggest
yeah.
portfolio. Yeah, the Lott Brothers would have been kind of the little bit more local from Round Rock. And they've done well kind of in that area. They just don't have the large staff and portfolio and the kind of nationwide reach that some of them need to be able to get the contractors to work on these larger projects. And so by teaming up, they kind of had the best of both worlds on their side. Sometimes that makes it a little harder to be as competitive price-wise, but their portfolio was very nice. And then we also did give them the opportunity that if they wanted to provide a cost savings for getting all projects, then they could do that. And there was a couple that submitted cost savings for getting all projects, and the cost savings was pretty significant. As you would assume or think, there's just potential for being able to manage all 3 projects at the same time a little bit more efficiently than you would be able to do each one individually, especially when they're at kind of similar points, and there's just a lot of paperwork also involved, and kind of use the same people to do some of that management and paperwork and scheduling. That's really a big part of the construction management cost, and so it was a really great turnout, really competitive. So it was good to see that. Any questions on construction or proposals?
I know I'm being a pain. On the CMARs, the names that you have, all of them they're all experienced in public or building schools.
Yes.
Working with staff and keeping this down, the noise down, blah, 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 all that other stuff.
Yes, and that was part of the criteria that they had to submit, that y'all previously approved, was having experience with K-12 school districts, and then also having experience with similar projects. Because just because you've built an elementary school doesn't necessarily mean you have experience with an auto shop. So they had to display that they could also do auto shop and welding, and that's why you'll see some that only went after Lakeview because they could show that they could work on some of those CTE facilities, but they didn't have the auditorium and gymnasium experience that you would need at Central.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lopez? And I don't know this question for Mr. Danheim. Crockett is expected to be finished when?
By August of 2026.
And we're on schedule?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions? All right.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez. All right, next, Dr. Brandon, you're back up for update on long-term property discussion.
Similar to our conversation on demographics and transfers, just knowing where property is located in the district and future use of the property, what other possibilities exist for the property, is something that we wanted to share as well. I still, 2 years in, will find out that we own something and that we may or may not have a current lease agreement. So Mr. Henry was a huge help in putting together a property list. I'm not going to say it's exhaustive because every once in a while we find something else that has San Angelo ISD, but that's kind of the goal, is we wanted to bring to you not the campuses that you're already aware of, but what other properties exist that San Angelo ISD owns that property. We'll start with 6121 Vista del Sol. Is the 77 acres that is southwest in the district, overlooking a portion of the lake. Beautiful piece of property. A lot of long-term planning went into that when it was purchased, how many ever years ago? Way back. And so that certainly is a property. What was interesting, and I'm got to have a conversation with the CAD, is you see that blue line. We've been concerned that we didn't have an easement, but when I see this and the way that the CAD has placed this, to me it looks like we do have an easement to the edge of that property. So that's something that we'll work on as well and follow up with the board. In that same area, next to Lamar Elementary, I'm sure you've seen on the east side of the campus, the empty lot, that is district property, 20 acres? 20.36 acres total for those two. This, you see the gold star, is where the former Rio Vista Elementary, now that the COG has moved the 4-year-old Head Start out of Rio Vista into the San Jacinto exterior buildings, outbuildings. That property is vacated. That's 5.39 acres right next to the Boys and Girls Club next door. That is out by the South Walmart, South Bryant. Here's the former Day Elementary. COG is using this facility for the 3-year-olds in the Head Start program, currently under lease to the Council of Governments. You see that it is just east of Chadburn, north of 29th Street. Kind of gives you an idea of where it's located on the north side of the loop. You're very familiar with the Lakeview campus, but a couple of things to point out is the district does own the property on the east side of the campus where the Little League baseball, softball fields are, being maintained by the city but owned by the district. And then you see all the stars down in the bottom of the screen where the old Lincoln Gym, old Lincoln Band Hall, old Lincoln Science Building. You can put old on anything over there, I guess. And then right across the street is a building that furthest to the south is a building that maintenance keeps all of their plywood, table saw, that type of stuff. They use it as wood storage for different projects. Here's Reagan Elementary, 2 lots. This is the first lot, 0.16 acres just to the east of the campus. And the next slide shows the lot right next to it. So whether those were purchased for maybe parking lots in the future, or maybe they were just houses that weren't built there that as they became available, the district purchased those. Those are district property next to Reagan Elementary. The Carl Ray Recreational Center. This would be northwest of Carver, just about 2 blocks. If you were to go down south and to the right, south, basically south of there, then you would be the Carver campus. But this is district property being used by the city for the recreational center.
That Safety City's not open anymore.
It is not. I believe SAPD was not using it anymore, and DPS had shown some interest in possibly reopening that. It looks like a little town out there, stop signs and.
I remember that because, I think, Amy, you were on the board when I think someone approached us about moving Safety City from there over there, that 20 acres is by Lamar. They wanted to build it over there. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah. All right.
Yeah. So right now not being used, but DPS has shown some interest if the district wanted to let them use that to teach safety on that location. Here's the sheep barn on the north side, Lakeview. In that area, this would be back to the southwest of the Coliseum, just east of the Chadburn as it goes out, North Chadburn, not far from the Coliseum, which makes sense, getting show animals back and forth to that facility.
Do we use that?
Yes. I don't, not a lot of animals, but yeah, we do have animals on site. So actually, mine are well kept, and I think, have we put the security cameras out there? Our last conversation was adding, I think we were talking about Wi-Fi, but trying to add security cameras to the property. Northside Boys and Girls Club, owned by the district as well. That is, it doesn't show the acreage on that one. 1802 Lily Street. Goliad Elementary has 2 lots next to Goliad that are empty. Certainly get a lot of runoff water right through that area. It's probably why no homes have ever been built there. Someone approaching the district to try to get that property. Here's the other one at Goliad. So you see just to the right of those 2 properties is a third lot owned by the district next to Goliad. 1001 Pulliam. It's kind of, if it was reduced, the map there, the satellite map, you'd see Bobcat Stadium, or old Bobcat, San Angelo Stadium there. It is right next to the roller rink. Yes, sir. And then Lakeview Stadium. So the district does own the property where Lakeview Stadium sits, as well as several parking spaces. Holloman Elementary, 2.5 acres on the north side of Holloman, and then a lane that comes back out to the road in front of Holloman. West Texas Rehab, so not the closest lot to administration building, but the one closer to Glenn, owned by the district, but leased to West Texas Rehab. Okay. So any of those that you might have questions about, that you would like us to get any historical information, or if there's a piece of property that you're thought, I heard maybe we own this, we'd like to go find that information for you, bring that back. But altogether, we'd like to have a repository of district-owned property and any description or leases that come along with that, so that if you have a question, when's our lease run out on the Boys and Girls Club, we'd like to be able to answer that. So, any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Moran? I know y'all been working on this, and I know this has been something that the board's been talking about for a while, just trying to make sure we had a firm grasp on everything. One of the things with a board that turns over time, and with administrative teams that turn over time, sometimes you end up with agreements and deals that someone knew all about, but that person may not even live in San Angelo anymore. Mm-hmm. And so we just trying to get it all lined out so that there's a good record for any future board or any future administration team, that we can make sure that we keep everything in line. So,
yeah.
Thank you for that. All right, we're going to move forward. We have consent items. These are items that we discussed at our pre-agenda workshops. We have consent items A through J tonight. So that's our minutes from our September 8th pre-agenda workshop, our minutes from our September 18th regular board meeting. The approval of the authorized list of investment training providers. C, approval of authorized list of investment brokers and dealers. D, consider approval of the CDA local investment policy for SASD. E, the consider approval of quarterly investment report ending August 31st. F, consider the approval of the annual portfolio report ending August 31st. G, I guess some of these were discussed earlier this evening as well. G, bid 25-15, maintenance, transportation, miscellaneous supplies. H, bid 23-025, data cabling and audio-visual installation. I, new vehicles and used vehicles. And J, purchase of yellow school buses. Are there any of those that need to be pulled from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve consent items A through J?
Move for approval of consent items A through J as presented.
So a motion from Mr. Dindal. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Dr. Mills. Any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. All right. Now we have our action items. I'm going to start with our bond construction delivery method for Fannin, and Dr. Brandon's going to do that for us, at least initially.
I'll just start off just saying, as the board approved the list of construction delivery methods by project for everything in the bond. Now that KFW has walked the projects, they have an interest in changing the competitive sealed proposal on Fannin to a CMAR. And so Kai Franke and Brooks Weiner are here with us this evening to answer questions to the board and let them give the board an idea of why they feel like that change would be in the best interest of the district.
Thank you all for being here.
Good evening, Dr. Moran and Dr. Kingman and board members. I'm Kai Franke with KFW Architects, and this is Brooks Weiner. Yes, so Fannin, in and of itself, that project, the projects that are typically, CSP, are typically projects that are kind of straightforward, kind of have an easy beginning and end, and those you can get a good competitive price for, and the contractors know how to price those. Fannin, in and of itself, is kind of a multi-phased project. And there's quite a bit going on with some building on one side of the campus and building on the other side of the campus and coordinating all that, that I think the district would be better served and have better value in considering a CMAR delivery method for that project in lieu of the CSP. And I think because of what it takes to put that kind of project together with a lot of coordination between the contractor, architect, and owner, and also just the scheduling of it, they're able to do some pricing, preliminary pricing, because they have that expertise. I think that would help tremendously in helping with that project in the delivery method. Brooks, add to that?
Only to add that, as we're also looking at potentially renovating portions of the existing facility that's currently being occupied, that adds another level of complexity. And so I think having a construction manager on board at an early stage that can familiarize themselves with the project and then help begin to understand how that's going to be phased, how that's going to be able to look for swing spaces and the like. We do think that it will provide the best value for the district.
So since we previously approved it as a construction student, we have to go back and reapprove it as a construction manager at risk if we're okay with that. And my understanding from what y'all are saying is that this allows us to, you feel like we'll get a better bids from someone who can look at it globally than if someone had to do a sealed bid. What they would have to build into their bid initially would likely lead to a higher bid for the district.
Yeah, that's correct. Because of probably the multi-phasing and the swinging of students and swing space and just scheduling that complex a project, they're going to be able to do that more efficiently, and the district will be able to realize the value with that delivery method.
Any questions?
I was just curious, is there any potential downside to switching to the CMAR?
There is occasionally, there will be, and with the CMAR, there will be pre-construction costs for the CMAR to help with preliminary pricing, to help with that preliminary work that you wouldn't normally see with a CSP. Again, though, so we may be looking at a potentially higher price tag. We don't quite know. Again, though, if we're looking at value, I think hands down, I think we're talking the best value for the district is going to be with the CMAR approach. I'll also add potentially helps with the timeline, because when you have a construction manager on board, as soon as our drawings are stamped and ready to go, then they can submit for permitting, versus if we have to wait on awarding a contract to a competitive proposal, then you have to wait for that contractor to be awarded the contract for them to submit bidding. So it adds that much more time into the project where we're able to compress it otherwise. Correct.
That's correct. They really truly become a part of the team, and it's a true team effort that way. And I think that provides the best quality and value at the end of the day. And that's what we're all after, is the best project, the best product for the school district.
I know you guys mentioned that there's some old facilities there that we might be able to touch at the same time, and with a CMAR proposal, we might be able to incorporate some inclusion of maybe some of that remodeling as we move forward into some of those older facilities, where if we have a CSP, we're pretty much locked into the facilities that we're bidding in the first place.
Correct, and I think having a CMAR on board early to help us with some of that budgeting can help us figure out what the value is and how far that dollar is going to go, and how far into the renovation of the existing facility, we can take that with the dollars that are available.
Sure.
All right, any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Dr. Keenan, I'd recommend revising the construction delivery method from the 2025 bond construction project referred to as Package 4B, Fannin, from competitive sealed proposals to construction manager at risk.
I have a motion from Mr. Dindal. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Gallegos. Any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. Thanks, guys, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, next we have RFQ 25-021. It's the construction manager at risk, bond 2025 for Glen, Central, and Lakeview, and Mr. Henry is going to present that to us.
Thank you for having me here tonight. During the June 9th, 2025 board meeting, the construction delivery method was approved for each bond project. The construction manager at risk delivery method was designated for the Glen Middle School, Central High School, and Lakeview High School projects. The scoring committee was assembled and reviewed all proposals. The administration recommends approval of Lee Lewis Construction for all CMAR projects at Glen Middle School, Central High School, and Lakeview High School. At this time, I'm going to bring RJ up here, and he's going to go through some of the scoring to decipher some of it for you.
Thank you, Jason. Mr. Henry. All right. Board of Trustees, Dr. Moran. I'm back. I actually outlined a lot of kind of the high topics of what led to the decision in the ranking process. We did go through and score all of the contractors with the committee, and Lee Lewis was number one on every project. And that was when you considered the reduced price that they submitted if they got all projects. And then if you go back and look, before reducing the price, there was potentially one project on Lakeview where another contractor scored second. But if you took that, then you didn't get the savings on Glen and Central. And so you would actually lose quite a bit, and the savings were quite substantial by going with one contractor for all three projects. And I believe it was just over $800,000 in savings by going with Lee Lewis versus the second-ranked firm. And that's if you went with the second-ranked firm on one project, which was Lakeview. And then just across the board, going with the second-ranked firm, I believe it was about $1.8 million in savings between Lee Lewis and the second-ranked on each project. So it was substantial. And obviously there are other factors that went into it, such as, their ability to perform the work, the previous experience with similar work, their portfolio, the people that would be working on the project and their experience working on similar projects. So all that went into the scoring criterias. And I believe price is about 70% of the scoring criteria, and then the rest is those other factors. And all of the CMARs had this criteria that they submitted on and knew the ranking procedures. And that's how the committee ended up with Lee Lewis working on each of the projects.
Questions for Mr. Lopez or Mr. Henry or Dr. Moran regarding this? All right. Do I have a motion to approve Lee Lewis Construction for all CMR projects, including Glen, Central, and Lakeview?
I'll make a motion to approve Lee Lewis Construction for all CMAR projects at Glen Middle School, Central High School, and Lakeview High School.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'm going to give it to Mrs. Mizell.
Yes, ma'am.
Ladies first. Any further board comments or questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have the bills, accounts, and finance. Thank you, Mr. Lopez, for being here. Next, we have the bills, accounts, and financial statements for September 30th, 2025. That's what we discussed earlier. Do I have a motion to approve?
Dr. Kingman, as I mentioned earlier, that all those reports that we discussed earlier can be found online at our website, SASD, under tab labeled Financial Transparency. And with that, I move to approve the bills, accounts, and financial statements for September 2025.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Dindal and a second from Mr. Gallegos. Any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have Dr. Rayleigh Self coming for our 25-26 targeted improvement plans and turnaround plans.
Good evening, Dr. Moran, Dr. Kingman, and members of the board. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present the Fall 2025 School Improvement Overview for you for San Angelo ISD. And we're going to launch right into reviewing the campuses that are currently engaged in targeted improvement and turnaround. This slide provides an overview of the campuses currently engaged in school improvement across San Angelo ISD, and we have two categories that we're looking at, which is targeted improvement, and I'll probably refer to those as our TIP campuses, and then we also have our turnaround plan campuses, which are our TAP campuses. Our TIP campuses include Bowie, Crockett, Reagan, Lone Star Middle School, and Lakeview High School. These campuses are identified based on performance of specific student groups over multiple years. And in Lakeview's case, they engaged in a school improvement grant, and writing a TIP plan was a part of the grant process. So they're not exactly identified for school improvement, but because we accepted a grant, we have to submit a TIP plan for them. Our TAP campuses are Bel Air, Bradford, Fannin, Lincoln, Goliad, and McGill. And these campuses require more intensive evidence-based interventions, and they must submit plans directly to the Commissioner of Education to be reviewed. The submission process is a smidge different this year, as it always is. We're pivoting. TEA has though generously provided a Google Sheet to serve as a template before we upload the lots of amount of information into a Qualtrics survey. I don't know if any of you have experience with Qualtrics, but sometimes it is not user-friendly. But at least we have a repository to work from, so it's a copy and paste mechanism. One thing I would like to note about the submission process is all of our TIP plans can be submitted at the same time. TEA has allowed us for that to happen. However, the turnaround plans have to be submitted individually, and again, those are reviewed by the Commissioner of Education. So next, we're just going to take a closer look at the criteria and accountability requirements that trigger a turnaround plan. These plans are mandated by the Texas Education Agency when a campus receives consecutive unacceptable ratings or fails to meet federal exit criteria. So under TEA's accountability system, campuses that receive consecutive D or F ratings for 3 years in a row must submit a turnaround plan. And additionally, campuses that do not meet the federal exit criteria, which is comprehensive support and improvement, are also required to submit a turnaround plan. One thing I really want you to understand is that turnaround plans are not just compliance-driven. They outline intensive evidence-based strategies to address persistent low performance. These strategies are designed to create sustainable, that's a very key word, sustainable, because we not only want to exit, but we want to stay out of school improvement. and we want to improve outcomes for all student populations. So unlike TIPs, again, who are actually reviewed by our school improvement specialist at TEA, the TAPs are reviewed by the commissioner. The TAP process ensures that campuses with the most urgent needs receive focused attention, resources, and accountability. And it also reinforces our district's commitment to equity and excellence, especially for historically underserved student populations. We're now going to take a look at the current performance data goals for our targeted improvement campuses. It's important to note that TIP campuses are identified based on the performance of specific subgroups over time. They can also be identified over their overall performance of the past 2 years, which outlines the rationale for their continued inclusion in the school improvement process. So looking at it, Bowie and Crockett, we observed both improved from an F rating in 23-24 to a C rating in 24-25. However, in order to exit school improvement, they must maintain a C or better rating this academic year. Reagan Elementary unfortunately dropped from a C to an F, which triggered continued TIP requirements. Lone Star Middle School has maintained a C overall rating, but remains in improvement due to underperformance in specific subgroups, particularly in the areas of special education and our economically disadvantaged students in the core content area of math. Lakeview High School, once again, is not identified for school improvement, but we are required to submit a TIP as a part of the requirements for the grant funding. So a campus is identified for targeted support and improvement, which all of these campuses are with the exception of Lakeview, if one or more students groups consistently underperform on state accountability indicators for 3 consecutive years. So there are targets for subgroups that they have to meet. And if those subgroups don't meet those targets for 3 consecutive years, then you're identified for targeted school improvement. Our focus for these campuses is on student growth, which is domain 2A, which provides a more equitable measure of school and student effectiveness. It ensures that we're recognizing and supporting schools to help students make meaningful academic progress, regardless of where they come to us from and what their starting point is. So next, we're going to take a look at the core components that make up both the TIP and TAP plans and how they guide our improvement efforts. So as you can see, we have several components of the TIP and TAP. We have stakeholder engagement, student outcome goals, our school improvement strategy, which we partner with our friends at Region 15 to deliver our school improvement strategy, curriculum and instruction, capacity building, milestones, which is a significant part of our TIP and TAP plans, as well as performance management. So speaking of stakeholders, we're going to take a look at the feedback that we actually gathered from our families in regards to the TIP and the TAP. Stakeholder engagement is very critical, and it's a foundational component of our TAP and TIP components. And so this slide summarizes the feedback that we collected from families during our open house events this semester. We actually our campus principals provided information about the school improvement process and where they were academically to our families, and then the families were able to provide feedback via a Google survey. So we saw some emerging things that I really want to bring forward to you tonight. We saw a strong appreciation of our teachers and staff, which speaks to the dedication and relationships that are built at each of our campuses. Families did express a desire for improved communication and more timely responses from schools. There was clear support for academic interventions and 504 accommodations, showing that families value targeted support for student learning. And some parents even suggested more time between classes and extracurriculars to help students manage transitions better. A reoccurring theme that we also saw was the need for stronger support for students with learning differences. And this is known as differentiation. It's probably one of the hardest skills a teacher can master. So it was really neat that the parents brought that out and made that connection. The feedback has been directly integrated into our improvement plans, particularly in the areas of communication, instructional support, and inclusive practices, because it reinforces the importance of listening to our community and using their insights to shape our strategies. We're going to take a look at some direct quotes from our parents and see the value of their voice in this process. One parent from Bel Air Elementary noted that they appreciated the school's transparency and the effort to improve instruction. It makes me feel like my child's success matters. Another parent at Lone Star Middle School, the new curriculum and coaching support gives me hope that my child will finally get the help that they need in math. And finally, a parent at Reagan Elementary, it's encouraging to see the district asking for our input and actually using it to shape the plan. So as we move to stakeholder input to strategic planning, I think it's very important how we show you how these plans align to not only the superintendent goals, but also our district strategic priorities as well. When we look in the area of Goal 1, which is academic achievement and growth, our TIP and TAP plans directly address underperformance and are designed to help campuses meet federal performance targets by 2028. This includes targeted interventions. We're looking at Tier 2 and Tier 3 there, instructional improvements through our HQIM, and progress monitoring. When you look at Goal 3, which is student growth on NWEA MAP, we have emphasized again Domain 2A, which is student growth, as a central focus. Because our instructional strategies and interventions are designated to accelerate student progress, especially for those who are coming to us below grade level. And finally, Goal 4, teacher incentive allotment expansion. The strategies embedded in our plans support teacher incentive allotment metrics by focusing on student growth and, most importantly, teacher effectiveness. This includes coaching, professional learning, and performance management systems that help teachers meet teacher incentive allotment criteria. So this slide will mark a transition from stakeholder feedback, and we're going to look at alignment with district strategic goals now. The alignment ensures that our school improvement efforts are not only targeted, but also reflective in our long-term vision. This isn't a short-term goal. We're in it for the long haul. We want to get out and stay out because we want what's best for our teachers and growing capacity in them, and we want what's best for our students. Our plans include academic interventions, focus on PLCs, and instructional coaching, which are all designed to increase student engagement and achievement. And by focusing on high-quality instruction and responsive support, we're creating learning environments where students are more actively involved and invested. And a key word there is engagement. When we're looking at the strategic priority of culture and communication, the feedback is huge here because it's been integrated into our strategies. It reinforces a culture of collaboration and shared ownership. We're not working in isolation with the community and stakeholders, but we're working with each other. These strategic priorities are not just aspirational, they're operational. They guide how we allocate resources, support campuses, and measure success. And when we align our improvement plans with these district goals and strategic priorities, we're ensuring coherence across all levels of our system. So we're going to take a look at our turnaround campus goals because I think goal setting is another critical component of our plans. So we're looking at Bel Air, Bradford, Fannin, and Lincoln specifically. Our goal is to move them from an overall rating to a C this year and a B rating by 2026 and 2027. And this trajectory reflects our commitment to sustained improvement and accountability. When we look at McGill and Goliad, we are targeting a C rating for this year as well, and a B rating the next school year to ensure that they exit school improvement status. And again, our main goal and focus is around student growth, which is, again, aligned to teacher incentive allotment. But I think when you think about student growth, what you really need to understand is that it's a more equitable measure of school effectiveness, especially for campuses serving students who may not yet be performing at grade level. And if you don't hear anything that I say tonight, please hear this. Student growth ensures that our accountability system reflects both progress and potential, not just proficiency. I'm going to say that one more time because it's really important. Student growth ensures that our accountability system reflects both progress and potential, not just proficiency. So when we look at our targeted improvement campuses, we look at Bowie and Crockett, and again, they both increased from an F to a C rating this past year, which is a significant improvement. But our goal for them is to transition them from an overall rating to a B this year, and then an A by the end of 2026 and 2027. And these principals are fired up and ready to go. They wanted me to put an A for this year, but we have to be strategic and realistic on those goals. So Reagan Elementary, even though they experienced a drop from a C to an F, they are focused on stabilizing their performance this year and getting back up to a C and looking forward to a B that following year. Lone Star Middle School, they maintained a C rating, but we're targeting a B this year and an A the following year. And Lakeview as well. They've set goals for continued growth, but they're aiming for a B and then in the future for an A as well. And again, all of their goals are aligned and driven by student growth. And it shows that we're focused on ensuring equitable measures of student success. So now we're going to take a deeper dive into the curriculum and capacity building strategies of the TIP plan themselves. So when we look at curriculum and instruction, we have adopted as a district high quality instructional materials. So in K through 5 in the elementary level, we have Bluebonnet reading and math, which has been an excellent move. In our secondary campuses, we have Bluebonnet math in the area of Algebra 1. So HQIM, the adoption of HQIM was a solid transition. We also wanted to note that our master schedules have been built intentionally to ensure sufficient instructional time. At the elementary level, we have dedicated MTSS blocks for not only reading, but math as well. Our professional learning communities are working nicely with the internalization process as they complement each other. Internalization answers PLC question number 1, which is what do we want our students to learn? And that internalization process works really smoothly with that. We have implemented also database tiering protocols to differentiate support on many levels. We look at differentiating support for principals, teachers, and now even PLCs. And all of our district and campus leaders, it's important to note that we have engaged in research-based instructional strategies, professional learning, from the district level all the way down to the teacher level in the areas of reading and math. That's been a huge push for us from a professional learning aspect. We're investing in leadership development through monthly professional learning for our principals, assistant principals, as well as our instructional coaches. We use tools like the Get Better Faster Scope and Sequence waterfall document to coach teachers and meet them at the level that they're at to provide that targeted support. We use informal action step or informal walkthrough trackers, action step trackers on numerous levels. And One system that we have really honed in on this past year and we're launching this week is our ABC Evidence Review Protocol. Those are hosted quarterly, and those have been a game changer for us, and I will show you how in just a moment, because it uses a system of metrics to gauge how effective our systems are in our campuses. So it allows us to look campus specific for areas that they're doing really well at and maybe opportunities for growth that we have. So now we'll look at how we monitor and track progress. And as I noted earlier, the milestones and performance management aspect of the TIP and the TAP plans is very huge. It carries a lot of weight in the approval process for the commissioner. So when we look at milestones, that's going to include all of our capacity building efforts from the district to the campus level. So those will be included in our milestone plans. And what the expectancy is basically to have a year overview and break it down monthly and look at metrics and processes that we as district leaders and campus leaders will work to achieve and hit those milestones each month. That's how specific we have to get with that information. Milestones are good. It's really a positive thing because they act as a system of checkpoints for us, for our TIP and TAP campuses, but also it's just best practice. And I feel like we are ahead of the curve because we have implemented our ABC protocol process, and that is exactly what it is. It's a milestone progression checker. So I feel like we are doing well with that. We're not just tracking outcomes as well. A lot of times we get focused on student outcomes. We are learning to also look at teacher outcomes, but in order to get the outcomes that you want, you have to take a look at the systems that drive the outcomes, and that's exactly what our ABC evidence review process does. So I did include there are 3 excerpts and 3 key questions that are really directly tied to instruction that I wanted you to see because this will be included in the milestone segment of these TIP and TAP plans. So the first critical question that you're looking at right now is, to what degree are students learning the most critical content and skills in each course and/or content area? This question alone drives our instructional alignment and helps us to ensure that what's being taught matches what students need to know. We affectionately refer to that as verbing. So there is a term that we use, and it's verbing. So through this process, rather than chasing outcomes, we monitor the systems that produce those outcomes, like our internalization processes, what's going on in the quality of the PLCs on our campus, and instructional delivery, and we're able to put metrics to those. So the data points that we discuss with campus leaders in those quarterly meetings are connected to the strategic components of those TIP and TAP plans. For example, alignment between PLCs and internalization of the high-quality instructional materials is a key indicator of instructional coherence. This isn't a one-time check either. So this consistently happens every quarter, and it first starts at the campus level, and then we together as district leaders look at the information collectively to look for areas that we're really excelling at and areas that we need to push and support or that may drive our professional learning. So I think that's important to note. Our strategies are not only implemented but refined based on real-time evidence. So what you're looking at is the second key question: to what degree are we able to tailor instruction to student and student needs? This question helps us evaluate how well our instructional practices are differentiated and aligned to student data. Tailoring instruction, which again is differentiation and one of the hardest skills as a teacher to hone, is especially important in campuses with diverse learning needs. because you have students at one end of the spectrum to the other and everything in between. And as a teacher, you have to make sure each one of those needs are met. And that's extremely difficult. But through this process, we're able to have really deep conversations with our campus leaders who turn around and have those same conversations with teachers, especially around the area of students with disabilities, our English language learner students, and those performing below grade level. We've built in support systems like coaching, tiering protocols, and MTSS blocks to help teachers implement differentiated instruction effectively. And lastly, the key question that you're looking at is, to what degree do we support and retain effective adults capable of meeting the academic, personal, and social needs of all students? I think one of the key words in this key question for me is retain, because we know that people aren't knocking down the door to become teachers anymore, and it's really important that we pour into the people that we have and invest in them and build capacity in them to make them want to stay, because that feeds into collective teacher efficacy, which is the biggest impact on student achievement there is. That is proven by research. This question helps us evaluate the strength of our leadership development, coaching systems, and teacher support structures. And it directly ties to the capacity building section of our TIP and our TAP plans. It also is a good reflection of how well we're implementing our coaching tools, professional learning structures, and tiered support for our instructional staff. So as we conclude our presentation, I want to highlight the key takeaways from our TIP and TAP work across San Angelo ISD. We have 11 campuses that are engaged in a TIP and TAP plan process, but each plan is customized to the campus's needs, but shares common strategic components. All plans include stakeholder engagement, clearly defined student outcome goals, aligned instructional strategies, and performance monitoring, which is key. And also, just going back to our ABC evidence review meetings, we have these systems in place. We look at the data driven by the systems. So I think it's important that we not only as a district leadership team look at that data, but perhaps at the end of every quarter, we share that with you as well. Again, because it's very important information, and it's driven by data, it's metrics. So those would kind of be the areas that would help you make decisions as well. So tonight we're actually requesting board approval for these turnaround plans and targeted improvement plans. And this approval is a critical step in continuing our improvement efforts and meeting state and federal requirements. So I'm sure you have questions, so.
Thank you, Dr. Self. I want to start with just thank you for the work that you and Dr. Gomez and the whole team has done to get these plans in place. Sure. It's obvious that, and anyone who knows what the district's been doing the last several years, sure, that although, as we talked about at earlier meetings this summer and early spring, although a bunch of ratings came out at once, mm-hmm, there's been a lot of work with the teacher incentive allotment, with the instructional materials, with professional coaches, the professional coaches, how we've worked to try and actually be in place for these systems to work. Absolutely. And I love the fact that we're talking about systems, because that addresses every kid, and we're not looking to just go, hey, Johnny's not doing good enough, and if we just get Johnny's score up, then the whole campus looks better. Like we're looking at trying to make systems so that whoever Johnny is and whoever the next Johnny is ready to have the same support in place. So
all students benefit, yes, sir.
But I also want to point out that as a board, there's a reason our superintendent goal has 0 as our expectation for this, and we know that y'all are working on this. We know Dr. Moran is working on this, but we by 28 we approved in July. Mm-hmm. Our board goal and superintendent goals that we want no campuses. And I love the fact that we're setting goals to where we go from 11 to 0, and we go from F's to C's to B's and A's, because every kid in San Angelo should be able to perform and be able to do that. And we need to set the expectations that that is capable, and we need to change the mindset that we're not capable of doing that.
Right.
We are capable of doing that. Our district's capable of doing that. Our kids are capable of doing that. And so, anyway, I just want to thank y'all for what y'all are doing to help us get there and go from there. Other questions or comments?
Dr. Feeney, go ahead. Go ahead, Jordan.
I was just going to ask you, Rayleigh, when would all this be implemented? When would it, after, I know we got to approve it tonight, but when
Yesterday.
will we start? I know, yesterday.
Yes, sir. The work actually started.
It's already started then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It has.
And
It's
then
been underway.
Could we, I mean, I guess, because I would really like for us to keep up with this and see where we're at. So, I mean, maybe in a month, not a month, but maybe.
I think they said quarterly. We're going to see it
Well,
quarterly.
we're going to get a quarterly report.
Kind of like with the map data timing.
Map data.
Would that be a rough?
Yes, I believe a quarter two would align with map data because we actually had to adjust our windows so that we could have conversations with our principals around the middle of year map administration. So,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay, good. And then you answered a lot of questions for me that I was going to ask you if we could do later, but no, you answered a lot of them right there with teachers and
Yes, sir.
implementation and all that. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. Teachers are very important. They're the closest to the students.
Other questions, comments?
I'd just like to echo what Dr. Kingman said about, we appreciate all the work you've done this, but just some basic questions. So you said you communicated all this with the parents at the open houses at all the campuses?
No, sir, just the ones engaged in school improvement.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But of those, all 11 of those campuses?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the feedback there was mostly positive?
Yes, sir. There were opportunities for us, like the notable communication, the timely communication from campuses. Yes, sir.
And this is maybe a very naive question, but how do you teach these teachers when they're always teaching students?
Listen, we're very creative and we have great pivot foots. But honestly, it comes down to our professional learning structure. So we have targeted time to pour into our leaders. And so in our conversations and coaching with campus principals, we ask them, okay, where's the deficit? So we look at the metrics, and because every campus is different, so then we talk about PL that they could do on their campus with their teachers. So they usually have a faculty meeting once a month at least, and that's usually when you see those campus leaders host professional learning that's targeted to that campus's needs. And then we have district days that we also bring in consultants and pour into our teachers as well as our leaders. It's a whole district-wide process.
I'd like to just comment and echo the importance of the teacher, but also to remind the board that the much of the data that is collected by the state is dependent on a handful of teachers in our district and a handful of grade levels. We want all of our teachers to do well. But as you can see, the focus is on the STAR tested areas and the EOC tested areas and the performance of those kids in those classes at those grade levels on testing day. And so, I've never been one to play the game, and I don't think we're playing the game. What you're hearing are systems that are providing a quality education for every kid in every class, regardless of subject area. But just remember that TEA really is looking at a very narrow bit of data when it comes to performance. And so you might see, not to pick on Reagan, but you saw the tremendous dip there, that if you have one or two teachers and we did, at Reagan, we had a couple of teachers that there was not a permanent long-term instructor in that class. When you have that kind of a scenario, that's what happens, because one or two teachers can absolutely help or hurt the accountability rating of a campus, especially when it's a very small campus.
Excellent, thank you. I think we can all agree that the academics of these school districts is, the most important thing. That's what we're trying to do here. So preparing these kids for whatever the next step is. And so we appreciate all the teachers and all the work they do. They're a lot of great people and working hard out there, so we appreciate all y'all do. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other board comments or questions?
One more, Dr. Self, Dr. Gomez. Appreciate the in-depth look at this thing. I know that we talk about the similarities of all these processes, but they're the best thing that you can see forward moving the processes that we're putting forward is that they may be similar in nature, but they drive specifically to the areas that we need improvement by data collection.
Yes, sir.
And not by, well, we feel good about this or we feel good about that. It's based on the data, and we see if it's from that we can discern where actually we're falling short, be it administrative level, campus level, classroom level. It gives us, even though the process is similar, it gives us enough specificity to see exactly where we need improvement as we move forward in each of these processes. I know it's hard, but it's data driven, and that's what is going to help us in our relationship with the TA moving forward, and our community too. So because we are not dealing with a feeling, we're dealing with a lot of hard facts and how we can move the needle on that. So I appreciate your work, and look forward to hearing the successes. Again, the other nice thing is I hear that we're going to start seeing some quarterly reports, which is going to be encouraging, where we can actually fret with you, for lack of a better term, if we see some issues, and that we can see how we as a board can help put necessary tools in your hands via finance or personnel or whatever it takes. I know this board is dead set on having academic improvement moving forward, and we want to make sure that we see every kid get the greatest education they can in SAISD.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
And real quick, Dr. Moran, I like what you said right there just a while ago about how the TEA looks at a very narrow, which I think it's just the STAR and the EOC, but we look at it as we're trying to improve the whole picture. Like you said, we want these kids prepared, and I'll be honest with you, to me, the STAR and the EOC, I know they are important. I know they are. And I'm sure every board member here thinks the same thing. STAR and EOC, yes, they are important. However, the overall product is what we're looking at. How these kids, when they graduate, when they leave here, like I think someone said a while back, someone said somewhere, I remember hearing it, and they said, colleges don't ask what your college application doesn't ask what your STAR test was. So I want our kids to be ready, yes, do great in the STAR. I want them to do great in EOC, because that's what they look at, which bothers me, but rather than looking at the whole picture, the whole product of how that child is progressing, and that's what we're looking at as well too, including that. And so I'm glad you said that, because it's very important, STAR and EOC, but the most important thing is, like you said, that we produce kids that are going to be great to the community, add stuff to our community, and possibly come back to our community. So.
I also wanted to thank you for all of your work. We can all tell that there was a lot of time and a lot of heart put into that. And I had kind of a mental checklist that I was checking off as each person said something. But one of the things that I just really wanted to say that I'm really proud of is the additional professional learning that you're pouring into the teachers and the leadership. I mean, it sounds cliche, but unless your cup is full, you can't pour into the students. And I just think giving them more knowledge and more, a bigger base to learn from each other, they can give more to their students. And so that I wrote down the question, to what degree do we support and retain effective adults capable of meeting to academic, personal, and social needs of all students? And I feel like everything is important, of course, but I feel like that's kind of the key to helping the teachers do the best job.
Absolutely. And that's actually the key question that's linked to teacher outcomes. So that's a good catch.
I just want to say, wonderful presentation. That was a lot of information.
Thank you.
That was
I'm
great.
sorry.
Thank you. No, but I do have a question. How often will you be seeking stakeholders' input or feedback?
So we actually already have a process of doing that through our community-based accountability. So we meet 4 times a year and we seek their feedback. We typically share, since this is the first year, we've done the ABC protocol. We shared one time last year and got feedback. But I do see that as an opportunity for us to engage and get feedback more often. Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Thank you.
Yes.
So we actually have to do something with that, though.
Yes.
Do we?
Please.
Do I have? Do I have a motion to approve the development and submission of the target improvement plans and turnaround plans as required under Texas Education Code, chapters 39 and 39A, and authorize district administration to ensure full compliance with all state and federal school improvement requirements. Since I said it, I'll make the motion. It was so long. I'll take the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion from me and a second from Mr. Dindal. I know, I just kept going. All right. Any other board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. All right, Dr. Gomez, this is we talked about this at our pre-agenda, but this is a 4-H adjunct faculty agreement with the McCullough County.
Yes, Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, and members of the board. As we previously discussed in the pre-agenda meeting, the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service of West Central District 7, McCullough County, requested extracurricular status of the 4-H organization and approval of adjunct student members for the 25-26 school year. We talked about it had to be where the livestock lived. And this would allow any SISD student to participate in 4-H education to be considered in attendance. The adjuncts staff are listed for your review, and we also provided the additional paperwork. What's out of the ordinary is we've already approved the agreement, but then we received this request due to just the uniqueness of the situation.
Yeah. So people who've done 4-H, it all is about where the livestock is. So
yes.
Although the family may live here in San Angelo, the livestock doesn't live
That's correct.
in San Angelo. They have to have the 4-H adjunct from that county. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for extracurricular status of the 4-H organizations and adjunct faculty agreement.
Motion from Dr. Mills, do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Mrs. Mizell Flint. Any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next, we're going to do Dr. Gomez again. Restriction of outside employment by administrators, House Bill 3372.
I think I took this for my colleague, Dr. Brandon, because he had already been up here. We like to count the number of times. So his name might have been on the paperwork, but we've both been discussing this. So we've also previously brought this forward a couple of times. This falls under House Bill 3372, and it aims to prevent conflicts of interest by restricting the types of paid work that school administrators can undertake with outside entities. Under House Bill 3372, administrators, excluding superintendents and assistant superintendents, can receive financial benefits from specific educational businesses if they submit a written contract to the Board of Trustees. This approval process ensures the contract doesn't harm the district. As Dr. Amy LeMaster has rejoined our team as Executive Director of Human Resources, she requests board approval to continue her work with Angelo State University in an adjunct capacity. The board, you've previously received the signed employment agreement in advance of this evening.
Any questions for Dr. Gomez on this? So we've done this before for other, and one of the great things about being in San Angelo is we do have a relationship with Angelo State and our other stakeholders in town, and as a district we need to keep leaning into that. So I think that's great that Dr. LeMaster is going to help us do that. Any further board questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve Dr. Amy Lemaster to continue her work in an adjunct capacity with Angelo State University.
A motion from Ms. Mizell Flint. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Dindal. Any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All say against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. Consider innovative courses. Dr. Gomez.
Yes, sir. So Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, and members of the board, this request for approval of the innovative courses is for the 26-27 school year. It's important that we point that out. We begin planning well in advance for cohorts of students. Currently, we have counselors advising. We have special program staff holding ARD committee meetings, and we have to get this information out in advance or it creates additional work for staff. And so that's why it's so important that while it doesn't impact this current school year, it does impact students in our system as they are preparing for high school. As you are aware, the Texas Education Agency does provide districts the opportunity to offer innovative courses that are not part of the standard state-approved curriculum. We are proud in San Angelo that we have several offerings, and our proposal for consideration for the 26-27 school year is to add additional options under the Health Science, Career and Technical Education, CTE cluster, specifically Kinesiology 1 and Science of Nursing. I provided the full course description for your review, but this just provides additional opportunities for our students. It's also very important, Dr. Keeman, you just referenced community partners. We have strong partnership throughout our community, and we have a growing demand from local employers for preparing students for health science careers. And the addition of these courses directly impacts the need of our community. And so again, I know it's a little unusual that we're talking about courses for the 26-27 school year, but we're having conversations now.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. Any questions for Dr. Gomez regarding this?
I have a quick question.
Oh, I do have a question.
Yep, sorry, I had a quick question. Will these be AP classes or dual credit or just regular high school classes?
These are regular high school CTE classes.
All right. And will they be available at both campuses, both high school campuses?
They will be provided to all high school students. Location varies depending on where we are with facility space while we're undergoing bond renovations, but both high school students will have the opportunity to participate in these courses.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right. Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion to recommend the Board of Trustees approve the addition of the TEA-approved innovative courses for Kinesiology 1 and Science of Nursing for implementation beginning in the year of 26-27 school year. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So a motion from myself and a second from Mrs. Mizell Flint. Any further board questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. All right, Dr. Moran, the sanctions of an educator.
Okay, the board has received information on Melissa Watson, and the facts have been presented to you. Mrs. Watson abandoned her employment contract and created a hardship for the campus and district. The administration recommends that the board take action in determining that good cause did not exist for Melissa Watson to abandon her employment contract. And we ask that you authorize myself to submit a written request to TEA to sanction the educator's certificate for abandonment of contract.
Any questions for Dr. Moran on this? I know we talked about it and it's been presented to us, but does anyone have any questions?
How long does the sanction last? Or is it
It's at least a year.
a year sanction?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Dr. King and Ms. Melissa Watson abandoned her employment contract and created hardship for the campus and district. The administration recommends that the board take action in determining that good cause did not exist for Melissa Watson to abandon her employment contract and authorize the superintendent to submit a written request to the Texas Education Agency to sanction the educator certificates for abandonment of contract.
I have a motion from Mr. Dindal. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Gallegos. Any further board comments or questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did she meet with you personally, Dr. Mayor?
She did not.
Why is that?
Well, I would rather not discuss the personnel issue publicly. If we need to convene into closed session, I can brief the board on that. But I will say generally and typically, if an employee, and not specifically Ms. Watson, if an employee abandons his or her contract and leaves without the proper separation, I would not see them typically.
Any other comments or questions? Because you weren't at we talked about it pre-agenda, so you weren't at pre-agenda. Do you, would you like us to go, we need to go into executive session anyway. Would you like us to go in there so you can kind of be briefed on personnel right now?
Okay, yeah, if we're going back there,
Yeah, we'll do that. We're going to pause for executive session. We have a motion pending. We'll come back and vote on that after executive session. We're going to go under 551074. Yeah, let's just do that one. All right, we are back from executive session. We took no action, we made no votes. Before we had a motion from Mr. Dindal and a second from Mr. Gallegos regarding the sanctions on Melissa Watson. Do I have any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. Next is bid 25-016, the demolition of Sam Houston. Mr. Henry.
With the movement of freshmen away from the Oaks campus, it opened space to allow ancillary programs to be moved into the existing buildings. This allowed the Special Programs Department to move out of Sam Houston and into this campus. This move left the old Sam Houston campus vacant and no longer needed. With the assistance of King's Consulting, specifications and drawings were produced to abate and demo the entire Sam Houston campus. Bids were opened and 5 contractors submitted quality bids for this work. Bids were reviewed and scored, and Reese Albert Trucking of San Angelo and AML Environmental received the highest scores. The administration recommends approval of Reese Albert Trucking to demo the building and AML Environmental for the abatement of Sam Houston Elementary. Total cost for all demo and abatement is $316,460, which includes a $40,000 contingency. Are there any questions?
Questions for Mr. Henry?
Yes, so we put this off for a month, right? Just to see if there was any interest. Was there any interest? And I don't know how the district relayed that we were, opening it up for the public, because I know I did it personally, and I myself got feedback. So I'm just wondering if there is.
Yeah, we had a couple of citizens call us and just express interest if it were for sale. The district, as a corporate body, did not put the property up for sale or advertise it for sale because there are guidelines for us to follow if we choose to do that. If the board chooses to make a property available for sale, I think everybody got the policy. We have to first offer it to a charter school in our district for first right of refusal. They can make an offer, or the board can choose to accept that offer or not. Then if we choose not to accept it, then we have to advertise it twice in the paper. We have to wait 14 days, and then we have to do the competitive sealed bid process and then decide if we want to accept a bid. So really, there's a process to sell property. As a board, we hadn't taken that taken that position. We hadn't pursued that option. At the last meeting in September, it was on the agenda to be considered for demo. We paused to see if anyone would express interest. We had a couple that did, if in fact it became available for sale. So that's kind of where we're at.
Other questions? Okay, so
Well, let me ask Jason one thing. On abatement, when they do the demolition on it, they will take the whole building down, the fencing, all that asphalt stuff there was an old parking lot apparently, and playground equipment, everything gets stripped from there, and then what they'll do is they'll put fresh topsoil on there, and that way it's a raw piece of rock.
There will be some asphalt and left, but all of the building will come down, all of the footers will come out, all of that will be leveled off. The basketball goals will come down. We chose to leave the perimeter fencing up just to keep people from coming through there. All of the playground equipment will come out. It will end up being just a blank slate for anybody who would like to.
With old parking lot and then I guess an old basketball court.
Probably in the basketball court, yep. They can, for a price, they will pull out anything.
Mr. Gagos, will you make sure your mic's on? They're not here.
Oh, that's right, sorry. Mic wasn't on. Sorry about that, Jack. My apologies. But yeah, that's what I was wondering, how much, to the extent of what are they gonna do, so just, they'll take the building down, leave the fencing up, and basketball goals, and just leave the cement and the asphalt.
Yes.
And that's it, okay, thank you.
And so, Ms. Carter, it's I think this doesn't prevent us from being able to sell this property if we want to sell it. It just depends on if we want to sell it. If we were to ever sell it, would we want to sell it as the existing piece of property? Or we'd want to clear that property and then decide to sell it or do something else with it. If the board tonight voted not to demolish it, then I think that was when the board would then have to take action to either list it for sale as its current status, or if we took action tonight, then we would have to take action again to officially list it for sale in a new condition if it was demolished.
And I might add, we've had conversation with the city about properties. We have some property, well, you saw some property tonight that is vacant that we own. And there's a process called infilling that the city would come in if we went into an agreement with the city that this is what we wanted to do with the city. They would come in and provide water and sewer and provide the infrastructure so that it could be sold as to a developer for homes and things like that. So as we as a board make decisions in the coming months and years on properties, that's something else to think about, is that the city has the ability to do that if we want to work with them to do so.
So, other board questions or comments before we?
And of course, I think we discussed the history of a vacant building. I'm talking about the one over on the old Travis building. Can you hear me, Jack? Just want to make sure. But I think, I was sitting there looking at stuff and I think that if we were to leave that there, my biggest fear would have been that someone would buy it and leave it like they did Travis. And to me, I just thought that's not fair to a neighborhood because it's not fair to them over here. I mean, it's just been sitting there, and I drove by it the other day, and weeds everywhere, broken windows everywhere, and you're just going, why didn't we just, do that? Another thing is, if later on, if we do sell that whole piece of raw property, with the asphalt and the cement on there, I think it would generate tax revenue. You can put, I don't know if you've driven by that property, that's about, at least, you can put 5 to 10 houses on that piece of property if a developer bought it. Or you could put a store, someone, because it's right off of a main thoroughfare. So there's a lot of potential if someone were to buy it that way. And I think, it would benefit the county, the district, and the city, when I talk about tax revenue, to have either 5 different buildings there or one big building there, more than it would if you were just not generating any money with an old building sitting there that someone buys and doesn't do anything with it. So those are just my comments. That's what I think. I think we have a better chance of doing something with it without the buyers having to go through all that.
I agree with you that there's tons of potential for it. That's number one. Two, you're basing your comments off of something in the past that happened one time with Travis Elementary. So what if that doesn't happen here? Second of all,
go ahead.
Per our last conversation, please correct me if I'm wrong. We said if there was any public interest in it, that we would move forward with our side of things and go ahead and put it out there for sale for the public to offer, to bid. That's what we talked about.
I don't believe there was ever a motion to do that, Ms.
No.
Cardenas. So it's like there's no, you would have to make a motion to do that if you wanted, if this motion failed, then there could be a motion to do that, but that would, the way it has to work is someone would have to make a motion to do that.
Okay, but our conversation did include that, correct? That if there was public interest.
We would explore public
Right.
interest, yeah.
Okay. And there was public interest.
There was no legitimate offer given, is my understanding.
My understanding is the public made
It's
phone
fine.
calls.
We're going to have a vote, and that's, we'll decide.
Okay, no, I'm just expressing what happened so everybody's on the same page. The people who reached out to me through email, and I directed them to the proper men, they came back and said they wanted to make offers, but they were told, we're not taking offers right now, we're just wanting to see if there's any public interest, and that's where that stopped.
So if the board decides to table this again and make public, so we decided to hold it for a month and see public interest. I don't think that there was ever a decision made by the board, there wasn't because there's no vote, to take it all, it was to table for a month, so we're following the protocol of tabling for a month. It's now on the agenda, there will be a vote, and then depending on the result of that vote, then the next step would have to happen. But all we did was vote to table the item for a month till the next meeting. So then it's about building consensus. So like if as a board, we build consensus to table it or do another vote to possibly sell property, that's absolutely an option like that. But it's also an option to vote on it this evening and go from there.
Dr. Keeman, I would say I spoke to 2 individuals. One asked if it had a gymnasium, and I said no, and they said, well, then I'm not interested. And I spoke to another individual that said, well, I could give you $25 for it, and you wouldn't have to spend the money to tear it down. But said, I'm not making an offer, I'm just saying, if I gave you $25, you wouldn't have to tear it down. And that was the only 2 people that I talked to.
Yeah, my thoughts are similar to Mr. Gallegos. I think we do owe it to the community to do what's right with the property. I think the value to most people, maybe not every single person, but to most people, the property is more valuable and more desirable as an empty lot and as raw land, which could become a valuable business or houses or whatever. But I think it's financially going to be better for the district and potentially better for the city as a whole as raw land. That's my opinion. But,
Have you gone to see it in person?
I've driven past. I've never been inside it.
Okay, I have gone in person inside, and it's very well kept. They're good buildings. So I can say that technically that's not an accurate statement that it's worth more, being
It's
demoed.
opinion.
Opinion, right. but I saw it in person. It's in really good shape.
I just don't think that there are a lot of people out there looking for old schools.
We haven't put it out there. How do we know?
So
It's an opinion.
So we're going to ask for a motion in a second, and we'll see what happens. So do I have a motion?
What I just want to make one last comment. I think we owe it to the taxpayers of San Angelo to save them the $316,000 to demo this building before we at least put it out to the public, have the opportunity to place it for sale before we spend the $316,000 plus to demo it. I think we owe that to the taxpayers.
All right. As I said, we'll take a motion, and then if there is a second, we'll take a second, and we'll go from there. Do I have a motion to approve the demolition of Sam Houston?
I'll make a motion to approval for Reese Albert Trucking and Demo, the building AML Environmental for the abatement of Sam Houston Elementary. Total cost for all demo and all abatement is $316,460, which includes $40,000 contingency.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion from Mr. Gallegos and a second from Dr. Mills. Do I have any further board comments or questions?
I just wanted to say, Ms. Cardenas, I understand not wanting to make a decision now based on something in the past. I understand your point, but I also what is it that saying that fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, and I'm afraid that if we did the same thing and expected a different result, we might look foolish in the community, and that, to me, that's why I think I'm planning to vote yes to demolish it.
I get it. Trust me, I get it. But have you seen the building inside?
Yes.
Do you agree that it's in decent shape?
It looks nice.
Actually, more than decent.
I would say that what you see looks fine. I'm only going by what we're being told, that the roof has issues and that structurally there are issues. But I mean, yes, cosmetically it looks great. It has been kept up inside, but I don't know.
And to me, $316,000 is a lot of money to demo it. We're demoing San Jacinto, we're demoing Austin, we're going to demo Sam Houston, and from what I've been told, there's a lot of schools up next. That's a lot of money to demo. What's the rush?
Could we not recoup that by selling the land?
Not for that amount of money.
Do you know that?
No, I don't. But anything that we sell it for, within reason, it has to be reasonable. You're saving $316,000 plus.
You might not if we sell it for that. We don't know.
So you're willing to demo it without even putting it out on the market?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
any other board comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say the same. Motion passes 5-1. All right, next we have approval of new library book titles for the 25-26 school year. So this is under my name. So under the new State Bill 13, we have posted all titles of library books, I think on September 19th for an October purchase. There'll be more, if you go to our website, there'll be more on our website now for a November purchase. And then those have been given to the board, and they have had at least a month of time for community members to review the process. There are, I know middle school or elementary school alone was 28 pages, so I don't remember exactly how many pages everything was, but I just want to say I appreciate the work our librarians have done to meet the criteria of all these things, and for our community members just to know that it is online. Obviously, I haven't read every title on this list. But we have a process in place. If something, we've actually had a process in place before State Bill or Senate Bill 13, that if a title, if a family is opposed to a title, that we have an alternative if it's an assigned reading, and we have a way to challenge books within our district as well, so that make sure that we are working to provide books to our students that meet the expectations of our community. So this has been a lot of work, so thank you. And I know that now we have to vote on this publicly in order to get the approval so that our kids can get the books into the library so we can read it. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the proposed list of new library book titles for inclusion of the SASD library for the 25-26 school year. Any, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Gallegos. Any further board comments or questions?
Dr. Keeman, I know our library staff has spent significant hours vetting the literature and all of these titles as we move forward. So thanks to those dedicated individuals making the move to get all of that stuff done in time for us to vote on this issue, actually.
And I'd like to just recognize that Ms. Hogue is in the audience. She has been faithful this evening through it all. But Ms. Hogue, I want to publicly say to you, thank you for the work that you and your staff have done. It's been cumbersome, to say the least, what the state has placed on us, but your leadership has made the difference. Thank you very much.
All right. So we have a motion for myself and a second from Mr. Gallegos. Any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 6-0. Announcements. We have
Dr. Kingman, really quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to second all the accolades for Ms. Hogue and her patience and leadership during this time. The number of hours it's added on our staff has really added to already very full plates. But to update you, you will also get this in Friday Facts. As of Friday, October 17th, the book list, the 3 lists by elementary, middle, and high school were posted on our district library services webpage for community review so that you have the information for the November 17th board meeting. Also, it's important to note that the district received no responses to the library materials for the month of September. We would have shared those with you in advance. And lastly, it's important to note that no request for the circulation email from parents has been received.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. So again, thank you. We'll if we make you come again, we'll try and put library books at the beginning. It's my promise. Okay, I promise. Okay. Announcements: Finance and Pre-Agenda Workshop November 10th. Regular board meeting November 17th. There's a bond oversight committee schedule at everyone's page. Just remember we can't have quorum at that. And then with that, we are adjourned.